Well, good evening. Welcome to the Nightly Relay. I am your host, Paul David Trier. We're checking the news out today, and just as the stock market closes, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down again today. 871 points, and that's probably not even the full extent of it there. 877 points. So yesterday we lost over 1,000 points. Not me. But the stock exchange lost over 1,000 points yesterday, and it took another dive today, and word on the street, according to Investors Business Daily, their headline here is the Dow Jones down 2,000 points in 2 days. Just about. Doesn't look like it got to 1,000 points today, although it was looking like that earlier. Nearly 2,000 points in 2 days on coronavirus outbreak. So the news really is kind of being taken over by this coronavirus, which is the most common name for it. There's a few other names out there. It's also called the novel, meaning new, coronavirus, and they also COVID, COVID 19 or whatever. Anyway, that's the coronavirus, and the problem is earlier today, and this comes off of the New York Times, U.S. officials warn Americans to brace for likely outbreak. New outbreaks in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East are renewing fears of a coming global pandemic, even as the spread in China appears to be slowing. We are asking the American public to prepare for the expectation that this might be bad, a CDC official said. Americans should brace for the likelihood that the coronavirus will spread to communities in the United States, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention warned on Tuesday. And pretty much right after that warning came out, that's when the Dow, it was up for a little bit, and then this warning was released by the CDC, and it started to tank again, and ended the day over 800 points down, close to 900 points down. So that's 2 days in a row that the coronavirus has been spreading fear and panic on Wall Street. Again, the CDC goes on to quote, it's not so much, I'm quoting the CDC, they don't quote me, or however that works. CD says, this is actually coming from Dr. Nancy Messonnier, very French sounding name. It's not so much of a question of if, she only said it once, if this will happen in this country anymore, but a question of when this will happen, said Dr. Nancy, director of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. She said that public health officials have no idea. They've got no idea. And there's probably a good reason for that. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. She said that public health officials have no idea whether the spread of the disease to the United States would be mild or severe, but that Americans should be ready for a significant disruption to their daily lives. A significant disruption to their daily lives. That's what the CDC is warning. That's pretty serious. if you look at what has happened in China, and the reports that the rumors are that it's actually a lot worse than we're hearing. But people had to stay home in their houses, kind of like self-quarantine. They couldn't go out on the streets. They couldn't go to work for a period of time, and everything just shut down. So that's the kind of thing that the CDC now is warning us that we should expect. We are asking the American public to prepare for the expectation that this might be bad, Dr. Messonnier said. So that comes from the CDC. The World Health Organization said today it was too early to call the outbreak a pandemic, but countries should be in a phase of preparedness. A pandemic is when an infectious disease spreads easily from person to person in many parts of the world. More cases of the virus, which cause respiratory disease COVID-19, that was what I was searching for earlier, continue to emerge with outbreaks in South Korea, Italy, and Iran causing concern. However, most infections are in China, the original source of the virus, where more than 77,000 people have the disease and over 2,600 have died. More than 1,200 cases have been confirmed in about 30 other countries, and there have been more than 20 deaths. Italy reported 4 more deaths on Monday, raising the total to 7 in that country. So that comes from BBC. And so now getting back to the statement that the CDC made, Dr. Nancy, there was a story that oddly enough, I think I first saw this on Rachel Maddow's show last night. She just kind of flashed it on the screen. I didn't really get a chance to see what website it was, but it was actually a website called foreignpolicy.com. And what they're reporting is that back in 2018, our dear president, and that's what I'm going to start calling him, our dear president, for the United States, this is from foreignpolicy.com, for the United States, the answers are especially worrying because the government has intentionally rendered itself incapable. In 2018, the Trump administration fired the government's entire pandemic response chain of command, including the White House management infrastructure In numerous phone calls and emails with key agencies across the U.S. government, the only consistent response this reporter encountered was distressed confusion. And that kind of sounds like what we're hearing from Dr. Nancy over there at the CDC, who says, we don't really know anything, basically. And that's because our dear president has once again rendered this government useless. So the government is ill prepared, and you can thank our dear president for that, because he fired the entire pandemic response chain of command back in 2018. So we've got a problem, and we don't really have a president who is capable of understanding the depth or the severity or why it's important to have people on staff who can handle situations like this. The Chinese government didn't really do a great job of containing this thing when it first took off back at the end of January, it was sometime in January when this thing started to spike, and now it looks like we're not prepared to handle that either. Trump has sabotaged America's response to the coronavirus. That's off of foreignpolicy.com. And they also had another interesting story. Global markets. This is, again, from foreignpolicy.com. Global markets dropped steeply on Monday amid fears that the coronavirus could be having wider economic impact than thought. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization announced Monday morning that a global pandemic of the coronavirus hasn't yet arrived, but it's highly possible. I mean, it's already in quite a few countries all around the world, and I think I would be calling it a pandemic. So, and what this story is going on to say is just like the CDC said. I think they're just kind of giving you little. They're just slowly drip, announcing this stuff so that it doesn't cause tremendous panic. But stock market 2,000 points in 2 days. That itself is panic. And I think they're hoping that the American public doesn't get too panicked, but they are dripping the information out now, and it sounds like we all should be getting ready to hear that this is a pandemic, and that some pretty drastic measures are going to have to be taken to try to shut this thing down. So I just thought I would do a round robin and alert you to the fact that coronavirus is very serious, and probably more serious than they've been letting on. But now, we're starting to see a word come out of Washington and Wall Street that people are getting very concerned. In other news, the Democratic debate is on tonight in North Carolina. Bernie is way up in the polls. He's the front runner, and of course, the media is now saying, you better watch it, Mr. Sanders, because now we're all gonna start coming after you. And so, be looking for some interesting questions. I'm Paul David Trier. This is the Nightly Relay. Be safe. Have a good night.